GhastlyGarlic Episode 30. The Japanese Ghost Train, a haunting journey through an eerie, supernatural tale. Chapter 1, The Midnight Whispers. The wind howled through the deserted station, sending shivers down Satoshi's spine as he adjusted his backpack. He had heard the whispers, the urban legends that spoke of a phantom train that appeared at midnight. Determined to uncover the truth, he had ventured out alone, driven by curiosity and a desire to debunk the myth that had plagued his small town for decades. The station was eerily quiet, the only sound being the distant hum of electricity from the flickering lights. The platform was empty, save for a few scattered newspapers and an old vending machine that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Satoshi checked his watch. 11:55 p.m. 5 more minutes until the supposed arrival of the ghostly train. As the seconds ticked by, Satoshi's mind wandered to the stories he had heard. Some said the train was cursed, carrying the souls of the damned to an unknown destination. Others claimed it was a portal to another dimension, a place where the living and the dead coexisted in eternal twilight. He shook his head, trying to dispel the unsettling thoughts. He was a rational person, grounded in reality. Ghost stories were just that, stories. At exactly midnight, a chilling breeze swept through the station, extinguishing the lights. Satoshi's heart pounded as he fumbled for his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness. He scanned the platform, searching for any sign of movement. Then, in the distance, he heard it, the faint sound of a train whistle, growing louder with each passing second. A spectral glow illuminated the tracks as the train emerged from the shadows, its sleek, silver body shimmering like liquid mercury. Satoshi's breath caught in his throat as the train glided to a stop in front of him. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing an empty, dimly lit carriage. Gathering his courage, Satoshi stepped inside, the doors closing behind him with an ominous finality. The interior of the train was unlike anything he had ever seen. The seats were upholstered in rich, crimson velvet, and the walls were adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change under the dim light. As Satoshi moved further down the carriage, he noticed the air growing colder, his breath visible in the eerie glow. He found a seat near the window and sat down, staring out into the darkness. The train began to move, picking up speed as it hurtled through the night. Satoshi felt a strange sense of detachment, as if he were watching himself from a distance. The rhythmic clatter of the tracks was almost hypnotic, lulling him into a trance-like state. Suddenly, the train lurched violently, throwing Satoshi from his seat. He scrambled to his feet, his heart racing as he looked around. The carriage was filled with ghostly apparitions, their eyes hollow and lifeless. They moved with unnatural grace, gliding through the air as they whispered in a language Satoshi couldn't understand. Panicking, Satoshi tried to move towards the exit, but the apparitions blocked his path, their whispers growing louder and more insistent. He could feel their cold breath on his skin, their skeletal fingers brushing against him. Desperate, he closed his eyes and covered his ears, trying to shut out the terrifying sights and sounds. When he opened his eyes again, the apparitions were gone, and the train had come to a stop. Satoshi staggered to his feet, his body trembling with fear. He made his way to the door and stepped out onto the platform, the chill of the night air a welcome relief. Looking around, he realized he was no longer at the station he had started from. The surroundings were unfamiliar, the buildings shrouded in mist and shadow. Satoshi took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He had to find his way back, to make sense of what had just happened. As he walked towards the nearest streetlight, he heard the faint sound of a train whistle in the distance. Turning around, he saw the phantom train disappearing into the darkness, leaving him alone in the eerie silence. Chapter 2, The Haunting of the Forgotten Town. Satoshi wandered through the deserted streets, the mist clinging to his clothes like a shroud. The town was eerily silent, the only sound being the distant howl of the wind. He felt a growing sense of unease, as if he were being watched by unseen eyes. The buildings loomed ominously, their windows dark and empty. He came across a small, run-down cafe and decided to take refuge inside. The door creaked open, revealing a dusty interior filled with overturned chairs and tables. Satoshi made his way to the counter, where an old newspaper lay open. The headline caught his eye, "Mysterious Disappearances Linked to Phantom Train." His blood ran cold as he read the article, which detailed the sudden and unexplained vanishings of several townsfolk. Each disappearance coincided with the sighting of the phantom train, a ghostly apparition that appeared at midnight. The townspeople believed the train was cursed, a vessel that transported the souls of the departed to an unknown fate. As Satoshi pondered the implications, he heard a faint whispering sound. He turned around, his heart pounding, but saw nothing. The whispering grew louder, echoing through the empty cafe. Satoshi backed away, his mind racing. He had to get out of there. He stumbled outside, the whispering still echoing in his ears. The mist had thickened, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Satoshi felt a growing sense of dread as he wandered aimlessly, his thoughts consumed by the haunting whispers. Suddenly, he found himself standing in front of an old, dilapidated house. The windows were boarded up, and the door hung ajar, swaying gently in the wind. Despite his fear, Satoshi felt an inexplicable urge to enter the house. He pushed the door open and stepped inside, the floorboards creaking under his weight. The interior was dark and musty, the air thick with the scent of decay. Satoshi made his way through the house, his flashlight illuminating the dust-covered furniture and peeling wallpaper. He felt a sense of unease, as if the house were alive and watching him. In one of the rooms, he found a large, ornate mirror. The surface was covered in dust, but as Satoshi wiped it clean, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Reflected in the mirror was the image of a young woman, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. She reached out towards him, her mouth moving as if she were trying to speak. Satoshi stumbled back, his heart pounding in his chest. The woman in the mirror continued to mouth silent words, her expression growing more desperate. He felt a chill run down his spine as he realized she was trying to warn him. Before he could react, the mirror shattered, sending shards of glass flying through the air. Satoshi shielded his face, the sharp fragments cutting into his skin. He turned and ran, the sound of the woman's screams echoing in his ears. Outside, the mist had thickened even further, making it almost impossible to see. Satoshi felt a growing sense of panic as he stumbled through the fog, his thoughts consumed by the image of the woman in the mirror. He had to find a way out of this nightmare, to escape the clutches of the phantom train and its ghostly passengers. Chapter 3: The Final Confrontation. Satoshi's footsteps echoed through the empty streets as he made his way back to the station. He could feel the presence of the ghostly apparitions, their whispers growing louder and more insistent. His heart raced as he reached the platform, the sight of the phantom train sending a chill down his spine. The train was waiting for him, its doors open and inviting. Satoshi took a deep breath and stepped inside, determined to confront the spirits that haunted him. The carriage was filled with the same ghostly apparitions, their eyes hollow and lifeless. Satoshi moved through the carriage, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. He could feel the spirits watching him, their whispers echoing in his mind. As he reached the end of the carriage, he saw the young woman from the mirror standing before him, her eyes filled with sorrow. She reached out towards him, her fingers brushing against his skin. Satoshi felt a strange sense of calm as she spoke, her voice soft and ethereal. "You must break the curse," she whispered. "Only then will the spirits be free." Satoshi nodded, his mind racing. He had to find a way to break the curse that bound the phantom train and its ghostly passengers. He turned and ran towards the front of the train, the spirits parting to let him pass. In the conductor's cabin, he found an old, leather-bound book. The pages were filled with strange symbols and incantations, the words written in a language he couldn't understand. Satoshi flipped through the book, searching for any clue that might help him break the curse. Finally, he found a page that seemed to glow with an eerie light. The symbols on the page began to rearrange themselves, forming words in a language he could read. To break the curse, one must offer a sacrifice, the page read. A soul must be given in exchange for the freedom of the spirits. Satoshi felt a sense of dread as he realized what he had to do. He had to offer his own soul to break the curse and free the spirits that haunted the phantom train. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. As he recited the incantation, he felt a strange warmth spreading through his body. The spirits began to fade, their whispers growing fainter. The train shuddered as it slowed to a stop, the doors opening to reveal the platform. Satoshi stepped outside, the cold night air a welcome relief. He could feel the presence of the spirits fading, their whispers growing silent. He had done it. He had broken the curse. But as he looked around, he realized he was still in the forgotten town, the mist clinging to him like a shroud. The curse had been broken, but he was still trapped, his soul bound to the phantom train for all eternity. Satoshi sank to his knees, his heart filled with despair. He had freed the spirits, but at the cost of his own freedom. The train whistle echoed in the distance, a haunting reminder of the curse that had claimed him. And so, Satoshi's journey came to an end, his soul forever bound to the phantom train. The whispers of the spirits echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of the price he had paid. The train continued its journey through the night, carrying the souls of the departed to an unknown fate. As the first light of dawn broke through the mist, the train disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind only the echoes of its haunting whistle. And the legend of the phantom train lived on, a tale of horror and despair that would be whispered for generations to come. The end.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. If you enjoyed our exploration of ghosts, mythical creatures, and urban legends, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling episodes. Until next time, my beloved listeners.